Hello there, this is Janet Roper, Modern Shaman, Animal Communicator and Educator, and I welcome you to tonight's workshop on beginning animal communication, where we'll be talking about what it is and what it is not. You see on your screen, you see this beautiful red horse there, and that's my angel horse, Shiloh. And he was about 17 or 18 years old at the time when this picture was taken. And I got to say, he loved that green halter. He loved that halter with a passion that is beyond passion. But anyway, what Shiloh wanted people to know then, and what he still wants people to know, is tell people not to limp along with their animal communication skills. Now is the time for people to really learn to talk to animals and to listen to us too, for we have much to share. And that's very true, because in his lifetime, Shiloh did share with me and with others who were communicating with him. And now as an angel horse, he still communicates with me, he communicates with others, and he helps in my online classes. He's the assistant equine professor. So keep in mind as you are listening to this, and actually I just lied to you, okay? Keep in mind as you are listening to this and as you go about in your everyday world, whatever that might be, that we all do better when all creatures do better. Keep that in mind and see where that leads you. We all do better when all creatures do better. So I have folks muted now, and there'll be a time later on to ask questions if you have questions. And also I just want to say that people will be receiving, people who have signed up for this will be receiving the download of this recording too. And there's going to be a special invitation that I'll be mentioning throughout the workshop tonight. So you'll be able to see that, and you'll be able to respond to that too when you get the download of this. As I said, my name is Janet Roper. I'm a modern shaman, an animal communicator, and an educator. I'm also an animal advocate and a blogger. And I write. And so I just do all things. And everything that I do pretty much is animal-centric. Everything, all of my work, all of my passion is centered around working with animals and helping animals and their humans, and helping build the relationship between humans and all sentient beings on Earth. And what I call that is helping humans come in right relationship with all of the creatures, whether they are animals, plants, the mountains, the streams, the air, with all of those sentient beings with whom we share our planet Earth with. I've practiced animal communication. I don't know how long. I've done it all my life. It's more than 15 years, so let's round it up to 20. But anyway, I've practiced it quite a while. And my focus on animal communication is it's that animal-human bond and working with that and building that right relationship. And also helping people realize that everyone can talk to the animals, and also helping people who are working with grief, who have lost an animal, whether that is through death, whether that is through the anticipation, they're in a hospice situation with one of their animal pals, or whether the animal has been lost and they are looking to find the animal. So however that grief occurs, I help people work with that grief. And I will admit that most of mine is done with the death and dying and the grief support afterwards. I'm cheerfully owned and managed by one cat, Raven, and one dog, Max. You might hear Max because he's underneath my feet, and he's looking out his big, I call it the Max Bark window that runs the entire side of the house. And he can see for miles, and he just loves it. And he loves barking at those things he sees, or that he thinks that he sees. And Raven loves to help. He's my black cat, and he sometimes comes across the screen, and so you might see him coming in and making an appearance. And before we move ahead to the next screen, I also want to share with you that as a modern shaman, what I work with is animals and helping them pass over. So that's called psychopomp in shamanic lingo. And what I do is I help them ritualistically and ceremonial cross over from our world to the non-physical world. And then I offer support for the humans and their animal companions that are left behind. And then for humans, what I do, and this is the first time that I've worked with humans, at least in the realm of, since I've been an animal communicator, what I help the humans with is soul retrieval. And so if you're interested in finding out more about that, I invite you to visit my website, www.janetroper.com. You can scurry up to the top and you will see a tab that says Animal Communication Services. And if you're interested in the Animal Communication Service, just click on that tab and you'll see all kinds of things there that you can, explore and look at. And if you're interested in the shamanic services, click on the shamanic services tab. I will admit that is still being built. So it's pretty bare bones for the information that's up there. But there's a couple of links that you can check out, and there's also a couple of signups to get more information about the services that I'm offering as a shaman. So, animal communication, beginning animal communication. You are in the right place tonight if you have a deep love and a respect for animals. You are in the right place tonight if you have a feeling that the animals have been trying to connect with you, but you're not sure how to connect with them. And that does happen. Think of your dog, and they're sitting there in the kitchen maybe, or in the living room, and they're looking up at you with those big brown eyes, and they're trying to tell you something. Actually, they are telling you something, and that you're trying to hear what they're saying, and you're not getting the clear picture. So if you've experienced that before, you're in the right place. And you're also in the right place if you want to learn how to communicate with the animals, but you didn't know where to start. Because there's a whole heck of a lot of different places that you could start in animal communication. You just Google it and you get pages of animal communicators, you get pages of classes in animal communication. But tonight, this is an overview. So if you're at the very beginning of your journey with animals and animal communication, I know I'm biased, but I think this is a good place to start. I'm going to give you some ideas, going to give you some thoughts. If they work for you, fine. If they don't work for you, fine. So, as they say, take what you need and leave the rest. Tonight, what you're going to hear is how I got my start as an animal communicator, because I am basically wearing my animal communicator hat tonight and educator hat tonight. A little bit of a shamanic hat will pop on, but mostly you're going to hear me speaking through the lens of animal communicator and educator. You're going to hear about what I love about animal communication, why I find animal communication so helpful. You're going to find out the question that I'm most asked when it comes to animal communication. And if I had a nickel for each time I was asked this question, I could retire. I could retire and I could move to France. Wouldn't that be cool? We're going to be talking about what animal communication is and what it is not. We're going to be talking about how it works. It's going to be an exercise to get you started tonight. And then we're going to be talking about ways that we can stay connected. Because I always, whenever I go to a workshop, sometimes at the end of the workshop, I kind of feel dropped. It's like they give me all this wonderful information, and then it's like I don't hear from them. Or if I do hear from them, it's like, oh, you've got all this wonderful information now. Buy my program for $497. So that is not my goal tonight. I'm not selling you anything. I am sharing information with you. And my hope is that if you have any questions, and that if when you're listening to this tonight and everything sounds really wonderful, and then tomorrow you get to thinking about it and it comes clear as mud, email me. We'll talk. We'll figure out what's going on, okay? So part of the surprise is you have to do something for it. And what you have to do for this surprise is take notes tonight. And that can either be screenshots, if that works for you. You can scribble your notes on the back of an envelope, if that works for you. You can be taking notes on your computer, if that works for you. All I'm going to need you to do is take notes, and you'll find out why at the end. So, how I got my start as an animal communicator, because I was told that, as a kid, Janet, don't talk to the squirrel. Neighbors are going to think you're crazy. So my natural intuitive abilities were squashed down by my parents. They were well-meaning, okay, but it's still, the end result was that it squashed down my intuitive abilities, which, by the way, we all have intuitive abilities. So I was led into animal communication by one of my dogs. I had been studying spiritual direction. My degree is in music education. I have taught in public schools, taught music in public schools. I taught music privately and played in orchestras. And then I moved to Minnesota, and I got started into animal communication because of this beautiful dog here that you see on the screen, and his name was Teddy. And I've always, for most of my life, had 2 dogs, and one of my dogs had passed away. And so I was left with 1 dog, and I'm going, I need 2 dogs. So my dog that was remaining, her name was Emmy, and I went to the shelter, and we saw this dog, Teddy. And all 3 of us knew that it was meant to be. And I was like the slowest on the bandwagon, because that's usually what happens when it comes to animal communications. Sometimes, a lot of times, the humans are the last to know what's going on. But anyway, I adopted Teddy, got him home. He and Emmy got on fabulously. And Teddy was 8 years old at the time. And the only drawback was that Teddy was peeing and pooping all over the house. And at first I thought it was, marking his territory. And then it became it went from bad to really bad. Okay. True confession there. And so, I did the vet thing, and they said, he's really healthy for an 8-year-old. Nothing wrong with that system. And then I was working with a trainer, and that did not work out the way I hoped it would. So I was sitting in front of the fireplace one day. This ad for animal communication dropped into my lap, face up. And it's this communicator was in my neck of the woods. I called her. She worked with me and with Teddy in that order. She worked with me first, and then we added Teddy into it, and then we added the other animals in the household to it, which was my dog Emmy and 3 cats. And since I'm the only human in the household, we didn't have to add any more humans into this conversation. But it started off her working with me, working with Teddy, and then with the other animals in the household. And long story short, Teddy had never been trained properly when it came to, having to go potty. He didn't understand the difference between why sometimes he was allowed to go in the house and the other houses that he'd been in, because they worked and they would just put the pee pads out, And he didn't understand why sometimes it was okay and why sometimes it wasn't. So we got back to the nitty gritty on everything. There was homework for me, and did some retraining with Teddy, and he literally kept the house, I would say 97% clean until his dying day. And so that's how I got my start as an animal communicator. It's thanks to that beautiful dog, Teddy. If you would like to read more about and more in depth about how this happened, I invite you to go to my website. Again, that's www.janetroper.com. And then click the blog. And then in the search bar, click how I became an animal communicator. Put in those words, how I became an animal communicator. And you'll find that in the follow-up that I send you after this too, with a link to the video. So if you want to know more of the stuff and go into more detail of how much homework I had and how we worked, then I invite you to follow through with that on my blog. So, I think it'd probably be easier for me to say what I don't love about animal communication, because I can't think of anything that I don't love about animal communication. I love animal communication. I love how it deepens the bond between animals and humans. I love how it deepens the bond between humans and animals. I love how it develops right relationship between humans and animals, not only the animals that we live with, our domesticated animals, but also the animals in the wild, meaning, the animals in your backyard, the squirrels and the blue jays and the cardinals and the finches and the worms and even the maggots, even the ants, okay? How animal communication really does build right relationship between humans and the other sentient beings here on our planet. I delight when a person who all of a sudden, it's like this light bulb goes off over their head when they realize they can connect with their animals in a more profound and a deeper way. Something that I would say, this is not hyperbole, I would say 98 to 100% of my clients, and it's probably on the 100% side, that all of them are looking to bond deeper with their animal pals. And they're not sure how to do it. And animal communication helps them with that. What's also interesting about animal communication is I will get people call me, they want to use my service. And then as I work with them and work with the animals, and then as they learn more, as the humans learn more about what animal communication is, they want to start doing it themselves. And they want to have that own connection with their own animals. And how grand is that? You know, how great is it when you learn something and you know that's going to help you in connection, in relationship with your animal? It's just really wonderful. It's great. I love it when people realize we can all connect with animals, because yes, indeed, we can all connect with animals. We all don't have the desire, but we all have the ability. And then I love what happens as I witness when people realize that a dog is not necessarily just a dog. A cat is not just necessarily a cat. A horse is not just necessarily a horse, and a snake may not be just a snake. Yeah, you know, they can be. Okie dokie, but there are times, not 100% of the times, but there are times when those animals become our guides and our teachers. And when a human client will realize that the dog that is in their life is not only their dog and their boon companion and the love of their life, the dog is also a teacher and a helper and an aid. It's wonderful to witness that. So that's what I love about animal communication. Now, why animal communication is so awesome? And you'll have to excuse me because it's dry in here tonight. I'm in Montana. We're getting into the spring season and it's dry in the house. So why animal communication is so awesome? You get the point of view directly from the animal. You don't have to Google things. I mean, you can if you want to, for sure, you know, but you can also check in right with the animal and see what's going on from their perspective. Okay, and remember, it's from their perspective. Okay, and we'll be talking more about that later. You can learn about potential health issues before they become a problem. Again, this is from the animal's perspective. You can discover possible explanations for behaviors. Like if you have a cat that's not using the litter box, you can quite possibly and usually find out why and make those changes, because in animal communication sessions, humans do have their homework to do, okay? But usually when you make the changes, everything is copacetic, you know, if it's like a household change. Like with Teddy and him peeing and pooping in the house, I had my homework to do, and there was a lot of homework, let me tell you. Part of it was getting a black light and looking at all the places where the dogs and the cats had peed and pooped. And, you know, that, oh man, does that put reality in your face, like smacks you on the side of your face when you have a black light and you live with 2 big dogs and 3 cats. Part of my homework was moving the litter boxes around, because Teddy's logic, and I mean, this makes total sense, was that, well, if the cats can pee in the house, why can't I? So when we're working with the animals and we're finding out these possible explanations, what's going on, then as humans, we have the choice of whether we want to implement them or not. And as I said, knock on wood, 98 to 100% of my clients, they really want to help their animals. They really want to get their animal better. And usually they will come back to me and say, okay, Janet, I've done what you've told me to do. What's the next step? And that's just wonderful when that happens. Look at the right relationship that people are building with animals, with their own animals when they do that. And it actually, think of it as like throwing a pebble in the pond, okay, because it ripples out. And your neighbors might see you doing this and use you as a role model. You know, it may not be tomorrow, it may not be the next week. Hi, Tanya, how you doing? But they will ripple out, that can ripple out, and people can use you, see what you do, how you treat your animals, and you become the role model. I need to do one technical thing. Hold on for 1 second. I just love, okay, you do this. There we go. Okay. Now let me get back to where I need to be in sharing my screen. There we go. Okay. Let's do this. Whoopsie. Okay. And there we are. The other thing that is so great about animal communication is that particularly when the animal is at the end of their life and you've got that hospice situation or that medical situation going on, you know, where you're caring for an animal in a different way than what you've done before. Animal communication helps with that. An example that I'd like to share with you is with 2 of my animals. My dog, Emmy, who you've heard about already. When she was ready to pass, she did not want to go to the vet. She wanted, and she told me that, she wanted the vet to come to her house so that she could be surrounded by me and her other animal pals. It was my dog Max and the 3 cats. And that was really important to Emmy. So that's what we did. And luckily the vet came out and helped Emmy pass away at the house with my cat Mitzi, who was a 23-year-old cat who was the oldest client at her vet clinic. And Mitzi had been living with urinary tract problems and kidney disease probably since she was like 15 or 16 years old. And when she was first diagnosed, the vet said she had 6 months on the outside. Well, Mitzi lived to 23. And she was the queen of the stink eye. And basically, for a little 5-pound cat, she ruled the house. She ruled the roost. Mitzi was emphatic that she was going to go to her vet. Now, what happened is that her system gave out, of course, over a long weekend, a holiday weekend. And I said, Mitz, if you want, I'll drive you to the emergency clinic. No, I'll wait for my vet. And and that gal hung on, let me tell you. So what was it, like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then Monday, I think the vet's office was open again. So at like 7:59, I'm on there. I'm saying, I got an emergency. We'll be right there. And I took her in, and they helped her pass over. And that was Mitzi's wish. So knowing how our animals, what they're looking for, and what kind of help, if any, they need in us helping them pass over, that's really a great thing about animal communication. So the most asked question that I am, and like I said earlier, if I had a nickel for this, I could retire and I'd move to France. That would just be like really majorly awesome possum, is can anyone communicate with animals? And the answer is, it's a resounding yes. Everyone can communicate with animals. Everyone has the ability to connect with all sentient beings. Now, you've heard me already switch back and forth between using the term animals and sentient beings, okay? Let me explain. Animals, animal communicator, we're talking about animals tonight, so there's the connection. That's the obvious one, okay? The sentient beings means that everything that we share our planet with, and that means the grass, that means the air, that means the sky, that means the clouds, that means the river, that means the mountains, that means the, what am I leaving out here? The plants, the trees, okay? Everything that we share life with from an animistic point of view, which is what I am, an animist, and we believe that all of those have souls. And because they have souls, we can connect with them because we have a soul too. So it's that soul connection that makes communication, in this case, animal communication, possible, or communicating with the clouds, communicating with the river. Now, some people will think that that's just kind of crazy, but it's not. It's a way of life, and it's learning that way of life. So we all have the ability to connect with the sentient beings. You don't need to be gifted or have special gifts or be labeled as psychic. As a matter of fact, that's my soapbox, because to me that divides what I think is a perfectly natural state of being and communicating with the animals. And if somebody says, oh, you have to be psychic or you have to have special gifts. Well, no, you don't. You just have to have the desire to do that. And that's the starting point, the desire to be in right relationship with the animals. What you also need is a willingness to move on from looking at life through our human perspective and looking at life through the lens of how the animals look through it. And when you do that, once you do that, it's like this big kaleidoscope opens. You know, you've got like this big screen. You've gone from just the tiny screen to the big 3D IMAX screen. And it's really an amazing thing when that happens. Let's start with what animal communication is not. Animal communication is not magic. So when I have a client who calls me and says, Janet, can you fix the problems? Nope, I'm not a fixer. I'm a communicator. I can find out what's going on from the animal's perspective, and I can relay that information to you. But the fixing, so to speak, and that's really a bad word, the tweaking that needs to be done is between the animal and the human and their animal, because that's where the dance is between the two of you. I come along as on the journey. I've been invited on the journey. I'm a guide. I'm an interpreter, okay? But I am not part of the dance. Animal communication is not a medical diagnosis, prescription, or treatment. Okay, so I'm just going to go out on a limb and say it. If you're, you're looking around for a communicator and they say, I can prescribe, or I can tell you exactly what's wrong with your animal, unless they are a vet, unless they are a medical intuitive, unless they have training. And I'm not talking a one day workshop, a 3-hour workshop. I'm talking years of intensive training, okay? I would look for somebody else, okay? My first word when I connect with people, when people connect with me, and they want me to talk to their animals, it's like, has your animal been to the vet lately? What's the vet got to say about that? Because I'm an animal communicator, okay? I talk to animals. That's my gig in life. I talk to animals. My gig in life is not prescribing. It's not making diagnosis. It's not a treatment. That's not what I do. But the information that comes up in a session from the animal's perspective, you can take that to your vet. And if they are open about information that has been received through animal communication, then the vet can work with that information. Animal communication is not a replacement for training. Okay, I will get people, particularly if they have aggressive dogs, and they want me to talk to the dog and tell the dog not to be aggressive. I've stopped doing that. I mean, taking cases with aggressive dogs because it's dangerous. Again, I'm the animal communicator. The information I get is from the animal's perspective. If the animal, and I'm not saying this is the case for all aggressive dogs, okay, but if the animal is seeing a benefit to the way they're acting, what's in it for them to change? So if you're working with an aggressive dog, call a gentle trainer. Okay, if you've got medical problems or you suspect something, or you just want what I call peace of mind, sleep insurance, call your vet or your animal's medical caregiver and work with them, okay? So that's what animal communication is not. Animal communication is a very natural way to connect with other sentient beings. I should leave that to animals tonight since we're talking animals. Animal communication is connecting to and developing a relationship with animals using your intuition, okay? And some people will say they use their psychic skills. I personally prefer the word intuition because with intuition, I'm using the 5 senses that I have, using them as like a guide, a GPS, to take me from the real world, what they're experiencing in the real world, to the world of the animal, what the animal is experiencing. So through a two-way conversation directly with the animal and through active listening, resolutions of problems are created and win-win solutions occur, okay? Now, again, going back to I'm the interpreter, I'm the communicator. There's still that dance between the human and the animal. And with the information that the human has, again, knock on wood, 98 to 100% of my clients will immediately put that into action and they see a big difference, like an incredible difference. But most of all, this is what animal communication is. I'm going to hold you in anticipation while I take a sip of my tea. What animal communication is right relationship. Animal communication is about being in right relationship with the animals. And remember back at the beginning when I said, we all do better when all creatures do better. Okay, when we're in right relationship, we're looking at how to make life better for all creatures. Tonight, we're talking about our domesticated animals. We can also take that and expand it to the animals of the world. So that's what animal communication is. How it works is purposefully connect with the animal. Information is sent through the senses, which is, for me personally, I hear words. The animals send me words because I'm a talker, I'm a writer, I deal with words. The animals know I get that concept, and the animals know I will understand them the easiest and the best that way. So when animals are communicating with us through our intuition, they're looking for that door that we feel comfortable letting that information come in through. And so a lot of times it's through our senses. It can be through dreams, it can be through music. And when we're talking about senses, it can be that gut feeling, I knew that I should have checked the dog food before I went to the store. I just knew I should have done it. Went to the store, forgot to pick up dog food. Now I've got to go back. that little sixth sense that kind of nags at you to do something. Information is both sent and received through those senses. So the animals are sending me the information. Like I say, usually for me, it's words, sometimes pictures, sometimes physical or emotional feelings. And that's the way the way I send the information to the animals is usually words and pictures. And to do it that way. Actually, I just lied to you. The most frequent way I do it is through pictures. I have mental pictures in my mind. Send it that way, and then I kind of send the words along to elaborate on what the pictures are saying. So this information that's going between the different species, there's an energetic essence to it that connects directly with the sender and the receiver. Okay, have you ever have you ever gotten like this letter and you go, oh, I knew I was going to get a letter from so-and-so today? That's kind of the way it works. You just know it. You know that that information is true. The thing that's really grand about animal communication is that barriers of time and space don't exist. So that's why I can talk to animals that have passed over. I call them angel animals. That's why I can talk to animals who are spirit animals. I call them spirit allies. They are not real animals in the real physical world, but they are in the spiritual world. That's why I can talk to animals that are on the other side of the world, because that barrier of time and space does not exist in animal communication. That is a man-made restriction that we've put on ourselves. So a reminder to continue taking the notes. And with the notes, like I said, they can be screenshots. You can write them on the back of an envelope. You can put it in a Word document, whatever. And one of the things that I would like you to think about tonight is, what is the one takeaway that you have from tonight's workshop? And if you were to send me that, that would be a great thing. You can use that as your note. So starting connecting with the animals starts with a circle of quiet. And in that circle of quiet, you go to a place where you won't be disturbed. And that means that you don't have kids knocking at the door. That means that you leave your phone elsewhere. You don't take it into the room with you. If you're out in nature, you leave your cell phone, your computer, your iPad, all of that in the house. And you're in a place of quiet. Sometimes it really gets hard to do that, so we can practice that to learn how to get into that place of quiet. A great way to do that is when you're out for a walk, is to focus in on one of your senses. I'm going to use listening. So when you're out for a walk, what are 5 things that you hear? And you just focus on the listening. That helps you build a circle of quiet. When you're in your circle of quiet, your body is quiet and your mind is quiet. So that doesn't mean that you're multitasking, because being in a circle of quiet does not work when you're doing laundry. It does not work whenever you're cleaning the kitchen or running errands or any of that, because our mind, when we're talking with the animals, what we're actually doing is changing the brain waves, okay? So we can't be in the same situation where we are daily and we have the normal brain waves where we're responding to things and multitasking. We have to actively and consciously change that environment. So that's why it's really important that you go to a place where you won't be disturbed. What you do is, after you quiet yourself, ask permission to speak with the animal, and then you honor the animal's response. Okay? Now, basically, they're going to give you one of 3 responses. And that's going to be, yes, let's talk. No, don't talk. Let me think about that. Okay, so a yes, a no, or a maybe. And whatever you get from that animal, it's the perfect thing that's needed to come at that moment in time. So if you get a no, that doesn't mean that you're a failure. Oh, heavens no. Okay, if you get a no, that means that the animal is honoring you and saying, now's not a good time for me. I was taking a nap and you woke me up. I want to go back and take my nap. I've had animals tell me that they were playing. My horse told me, Shiloh, who you met at the beginning, told me one time that it was too cold for me to talk to him, because it was in Minnesota and it was in the depth of January, when you get that like 50 below. Oh, I know it wasn't that cold because he was outside. So we'll call it 20 below. Okay, and he's going, no, I'm too cold. I got to keep all my energy to, keep my body function and warm here. So if you get a no, all that means is no. There's no judgment to it. It's just information. If you get a maybe, the animal may want to, and I've had this happen before, the animal wants to observe me and get to know me before they agree to talk to me. You've had that happen, I bet, with people in real life too, where you want to talk to somebody and they're reticent at the beginning. And then once they observe you and get to know you, they're more willing to talk. Same with the animals. So you've quieted your mind. You're in a quiet place. You've asked permission to speak to an animal. Okay? And then you're honoring the animal's response, which is one of yes, no, or maybe. So if you get a yes, go with a conversation. Okay? You might want to just start off, if you're new to this, and say, is it okay if I sit with you and just be quiet with you? That's actually a very big step. And that's a great place to start, is asking the animal if you can just sit with them. You know, like you're sitting with somebody at coffee and enjoying coffee with them. Okay? If you've got your questions, you can ask your questions. Again, honor the animal's response. Respond to any feelings that you get. Okay? Any impressions that you get, any hunches that you get. Respond to those. Okay? Because it's not a coincidence. Okay? And you're not going out on the loopy branch, okay, the woo-woo branch of life. You're actually receiving information from the animals. Because we don't, unless we've been trained and are learning how to do it, you know, this doesn't always happen to us every day. We can be like really taken aback by, well, oh no, nope, that's just a coincidence. No, it's the animal connecting with you. Okay, you've asked, they've responded. So at the end of the conversation, make sure that you thank the animal. Thank you for this time that we spent together. Thank you for answering my questions. Okay, basically, remember those little words that we learned as kids? Please, may I, and thank you. Basically, if we keep those in mind when communicating with the animals, we're going to get a lot of mileage out of those words. That's going to help us a lot. That's going to help the animals see that we are authentic in trying to communicate with them, that we are trying our darndest to be in that connection, in that right relationship with them. And as humans, okay, let's face it, we need practice. The animals get that. They understand we need practice. So the great thing about when you've created a circle of quiet is that you've done some things that you don't normally do in the everyday of your life, okay? First of all, you stilled yourself. How many of us have problems stilling ourselves in the everyday of our life? Well, when you're connecting with an animal, that's happened. You connect with an animal. How great is that? And you've had a conversation with an animal. Maybe not a conversation, but you've had a connection with the animal. Okay? Maybe you've sat with that animal. Or if that animal has responded with a no, you said, okay, thank you, I get that. No problem. But when you're in that place of animal communication, when you've created your circle of quiet, you've done some really marvelous things to really change the energy, to really change the focus, to change the relationship between you and that animal. So kudos to you. So you will get this, okay? And you will have a chance to practice this. If you run into anything, okay, as you're practicing this, you got problems, just let me know. As I said, my intent tonight is not to say, okay, here's the information, go do it. My intent, my hope is that we will stay connected, that if you have any questions that I can help you with, let me know. Even if that is, you know, Janet, I don't think you're the communicator for me, but do you have somebody else that you can recommend? Here's what I'm looking for. Yes, if that's your question, ask me, because I am connected literally all over the world, and I can help you connect with people, communicators in different parts of the world, okay? So remember those notes and screenshots? Here's why. Because one of the things that I offer is a 15-minute complimentary call. And so if you send me your notes from tonight's conversation, tonight's workshop, and I'll be sending you this information in the follow-up, okay? We can schedule a 15-minute call, and I can help you during that time with your animal communication. If you've got questions going on, how do I do this? Why didn't this work? You know, I tried what you said in the workshop, Janet, and I just feel like I fell flat on my face. Okay, if you got anything like that going on, then please take advantage of this, sending in the notes and setting up the 15-minute call, and we can talk about what's going on. So again, you can just send it to Janet at janetroper.com. If you don't want to remember that, I'll be sending you the information. So I hope you've enjoyed this call, and I hope that one of the things that you got out of it was to realize how much you're already communicating with animals. Think of it this way. The animals that you live with, okay, they've trained you, and that is not hyperbole, okay? I am not just talking off the cuff here. The animals, their livelihood depends on them knowing us, what we do, what they can expect from us. They know us, they watch us, okay? So they've trained us. So in that sense, you're already communicating. You've already listened to what your animal wants you to do, and you've done it because you're getting a result that the animal wants, okay? So I would like you to become aware of that, how that is happening in your life, okay? Sometimes we laugh about it. We say, oh, yeah, you know, my horse trained me that every time I go out there, I got to bring him an apple. Well, okay, yeah, maybe the horse trained you, but the point is you listened. That's animal communication. So I'm hoping that you're aware of how much you're already doing it, and by going deeper into it, how you can really transform the relationship you already have with the animals in your life. Let's stay connected. Go to my site, www.janetroper.com, and up at the top, you will see the tabs. I've been working on those tabs, and they're, I think, much more organized. You'll see the animal communication services. If you're looking for anything for animal communication, go to that tab. Okay, if you're looking for any of the shamanic offerings that I am starting to offer, okay, I just got my certificate of initiation in December of 2017. So I'm still working on getting everything set up. But on my site, I already have a tab set up with some links that you can check into. And of course, if you have any questions about what's going on, there's the Connect with Janet tab, you know, the Let's Talk tab. So let's stay connected. I invite you to sign up for my newsletter. It comes out every 2 weeks. I don't spam you. I do try to keep you abreast of what's going on. Hopefully that's not considered spam. And I don't give your email out to anyone. I just would not do that because I don't like it when people do that to me. And you can join me on Facebook, Janet Roper. You can also, the business page, I'm not over on the business page too often, but it's Talk to the Animals, talk with the number 2. The animals. If you just, you know, Facebook Janet Roper, you'll find me. And I'm over on Instagram as Janet Roper. So the workshops that I offer, this is an example of a workshop. It's about beginning animal communication, but I offer other workshops monthly, and they are on standalone topics about animal communication. They run about 90 minutes. And again, like with this, you get the download. If there's any handouts, you get the handouts. And if there's any questions, we have the dialogue going back and forth about what's going on. The next workshop coming up is, it's May 17th. It's on a Thursday. It's on a Thursday in May. I think it's the 17th. And talking about animal communication and blocks. So if you've been practicing your circle of quiet, and if you're finding out that, you know, something is blocking you and you just can't make that connection, or you don't think you're making that connection with the animal, that would be a good workshop to take. Again, they're standalone topics. These standalone workshops, they're meant for you to get basic information, get some resources, okay, under your belt. And then if you want to go deeper, we do that either with one-on-one mentoring, or I also offer classes in animal communication. So if you want to check out the workshops, go to janetroper.com, the Animal Communication Services tab, and I think it's the very first tab under that. That is the workshop tab, but you'll see it over there. So thank you so much for being on tonight's call. Really enjoyed talking with you, and I'm grateful that you took time from your schedule tonight to join in and to learn more about building your connection with the animals in your life and building right relationship with the domesticated animals in your life, the animals that are in your backyard, the animals that are in the wild, and all of the animals with whom we share our planet Earth. So thank you. If you got any questions, just let me know. Have a pleasant evening. Take good care.